Welcome to Paint with me in Krita, and today we're going to talk about how to ink your pencil sketches. This video is intended for you to follow along, so feel free to stop the video at any time and then try it out in your project. Then start the video again whenever you're ready. Alright, so let's get started. I've got a picture of Goofy here, and as I bring it in, it's by default called background. But it's the original layer, and all I'm really going to do is I want to reduce the opacity of that so that when I ink, it's easy to see the reference, but then it's also easy to see my ink layer. So I can go ahead and click on the padlock to lock that layer so I don't accidentally draw on top of it. The next thing that I want to do is create a new layer, and I'll just call it ink. The next thing that you want to do is, of course, to choose an appropriate brush or ink. So here I'm going to click on Basic 5 Size. That's really a good one. And then I can change the size of my brush that fits my drawing. So I'm going to press Shift and drag to the left to reduce the size of that brush. Of course, I need to make sure I have the right color, so I'm going to go to my color wheel and just turn it black for the ink. Of course, you can ink in any color you want. Now, if you're new to digital painting especially, you need to understand that it's very helpful for inking to use stabilization. So that's under Tool Options and Brush Smoothing. So we're going to choose Weighted, and you can play around with the parameters to see what works well for you. And it gives a nice smooth line. The next thing that I want to do is to pick a place in the drawing that I'm going to start with. I'm going to zoom in by pressing Spacebar and Control. Zoom in. And I'll pan over, and I want to also rotate a little bit so that it's easy for me to actually draw on this layer. So now I'm going to start by just drawing this inside part of the eye, and as I do that, I'm not going to try to be perfectly matching this sketch. I just want to make sure I've got a smooth line. Now, as I drew this line, I drew below the nose on purpose to show a little trick. So, for example, I'm going to draw this other line at the top of the nose, and as I do that, notice we've got a problem here about this has gone too far. So, if I erase, how do I erase neatly? Let me zoom in a little bit on that. But how do I erase neatly? So, there's a better way to do this, actually. So I've zoomed out and let me get rid of that line, and what I'm going to do is actually create another layer on top of the ink layer, and now there I'm going to draw my new line. Now what I'm going to do is go back to the ink layer, and I'm going to turn on the eraser and erase this other line that intersects, and now I've got a nice clean intersection of those lines. I go back to the top layer, and what I can do is right click on that layer and I select merge with layer below. Now those two layers are merged and these lines connect nicely. And that's the essence of inking your pencil sketch. So let me zoom out a little bit. We just continue to do that and just play with the different brushes and try to vary your line thickness and just practice a lot. And when you're done, you can hide that original layer, and you've got a really nice clean inking of your pencil sketch. So have fun inking!